Hello, I'm Saga Stephen, and this is Floridian Future. Joining me today is Bailey Kuykendoll. Bailey is the Operations Director for Stand for Health Freedom, a national nonprofit fighting for individual rights, parental rights, informed consent, and medical privacy. She also serves as their Florida State Director, where she spent over a decade in the trenches of grassroots advocacy and public policy. In Florida, Bailey has been on the front lines of some of the biggest health freedom fights in the country, from pushing back against vaccine passport policies to working with local governments to remove fluoride from public water systems, to collaborating with the DeSantis administration on legislation expanding medical freedom protections. And today, she's here to talk about Stand for Health Freedom's brand new voter guide. It's a tool they designed to help know exactly where the candidates stand on issues that matter most before you walk into the voting booth. So, Bailey, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Saga.
You've been out there for so long, and I've obviously bumped into you on many different things. And yes, and thank you so much for all that you're doing. So tell me, 10 years ago, health freedom was fringe, right?
It was.
I know. So what's changed?
Man, well, I think we all know COVID was a silver lining. For some, it was a really hard time. Loved ones were lost. Things happened. It was, jobs were lost. But for the health freedom movement, the silver lining is the fact that people woke up to what's actually happening in the medical freedom front. And so it's kind of interesting. Pre-COVID, people would ask me, what is health freedom? Like, what the heck do you do? And now it's like, I don't have to explain. I can say two words and they're like, oh, I'm with you. And pre-COVID, I would have to say, well, let me give you a little context here. And post-COVID, they're like, two words, I'm with you. We used to get a little bit more beat up and we're not quite so fringe anymore, which is amazing.
Yeah, because I'm with Citizens Council for Health Freedom.
Right.
I do work with them also. And Twyla Braze, who's the president, has been screaming about HIPAA for decades. And people don't understand. And it's kind of like, okay, so yes, we're right in there with you. And I agree that as bad as COVID was, there was a silver lining in so many ways because it did wake people up. You can't just blindly trust the government. And so there's a lot of questions being asked. So since that, have you seen people sticking with, or are they falling back now from post-COVID?
All right. So here's the interesting thing. I work for the national nonprofit, and then I work in the state of Florida. So I would say I see it differently from two different perspectives. Nationally, I see people still on it, not falling away. And I would say Floridians are the same, except Floridians just like to chill. So I don't have as many active people in the state. I don't have people on fire, but our state's not on fire. So a lot of times that also is the reason. But I would say absolutely people have made the decision that health freedom matters and that it's not a fringe issue, and it's stayed the trajectory. Now that MAHA is a big conversation topic, it is a little jumbled because there are some wins, there are some losses, but we have to understand when you go mainstream, when you have a president talking about the work that you're doing, there are going to be bumps in the road, but we have a president and an administration who's working on the vaccine schedule. We cannot say that 6 years ago that they would even touch the subject. So we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were, but of course there's bumps in the road. So yes, people are in it to win it forever, but it's a little bumpy.
Yes, it is. And there's always something coming up because we always hear, okay, here's the promises, here's what we're going to do. And I don't think people understand how things work. It's not nobody, whether it's a governor or president, has a magic wand. There are processes to go through.
Right.
Speaking of with RFK Jr., and he is amazing. I've been following him for decades, and he's so smart. He totally understands the issues. He's fought legislatively against this on a national level for decades. So is it real versus theater? What's actually happening with him and with HHS?
Sure. I understand where people are coming from when they say, oh, congressional and up is all theater, because I will give that there's some theater happening. But we personally know, Saga, you personally know RFK Jr. He is the real deal. He didn't get into the issue because he wanted to. He was drug into it, and he stood for families over and over and over. And yes, politics is at play. And when you go into a new administration, and then you go into these 3-letter agencies, it is not easy. You still have the same people who were in the prior administration at HHS. I mean, there's 80,000 employees. So I think the expectation that he would change things immediately, things would get done, was there. And it's just not realistic. Even in our own state of Florida, when a new administration comes in, when new elected officials come in, we have all these great ideas of how it's going to look and how quickly we're going to move things. And it doesn't happen like that. It takes time. We have to be in for the marathon. It's never a sprint. And so we've got to try to get people's mentalities to kind of reel back a little bit, that we are an amazing place. RFK has put the issue in the headlines over and over and over again. And so we are absolutely winning. And he is so great. There's a lot of things he does behind the scenes that people don't even know. We get to work with him and bring him things, and they make these changes. So we are absolutely winning. There is no doubt.
Right. And
Yeah.
again, it is a process. Nothing
It is a
happens
process.
overnight.
Mhm.
So speaking of Florida and administrations, I know that, for instance, DeSantis wanted to put on the table
Yes.
the Medical Freedom Act. And this is where I don't think people understand. And this is what we're trying to do with Floridian Future, is educate people on how Tallahassee works.
Yep.
Okay. Because DeSantis can't just wave a magic wand. It has to go through the House. The Speaker of the House is the second most important person.
That's right.
And our Speaker of our House right now is basically fighting everything DeSantis is trying to do.
Correct.
Which is really sad. So we had something on there, and they started mislabeling it. Oh, it's the anti-vax bill. It wasn't. It was informed consent. Can you explain about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's really exciting is that it was actually called the Medical Freedom Act, and 15 other states. So here's what's really crazy. Actually, let me back up 1 second. It's DeSantis and Latipo who stood up, and Casey, I should say. So Ron, Casey, and Latipo, who stood up in September and said, this is what we want to do. We want no mandates. And so it was, the launch pad was Florida. And so a lot of people thought, because DeSantis said we don't want it, the state no longer has it. Well, that's not the way things operate. So you have to file legislation. The legislators have to pass the bill. Like, all the steps are in place. 15 states filed the bill. We had 2 bills pass legislative or chambers. One bill made it pass both chambers, but was vetoed, which is in Arizona. So unfortunately, Florida never got the actual bill we wanted filed. There was a bill that was much watered down, but it still made path forward for people. There was an additional exemption inside of it. There were protections in place for informed consent. There was some really good paths forward, but we never got the actual Medical Freedom Act that would have stopped mandates in the state of Florida. And really, the other issue that a lot of Floridians don't even know, or other states don't understand, is that DeSantis is medical freedom. Like, he is our cheerleader. He is our champion. But our Florida legislature is not. Now, we have some amazing legislators who pushed really hard, who supported us, who voted the right direction. But we have to have more of them. It can't just be the governor. The governor doesn't pass legislation. He can set the tone. He can be the leader. And DeSantis has been over and over and over. But our legislature doesn't always follow along. And you're right. When it came to Perez, our Speaker of the House, we lost miserably. And it really, I think it kind of did help, though, again, looking at a little silver lining, I think it did help people to understand that it isn't the governor who gets to pass the legislation. So there was a tiny, tiny silver lining in that situation, but it was rough.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any passage of any medical freedom bills. We do have a naturopathy bill that we're still, waiting to get signed by the governor. But unfortunately, we've got nothing, but we have plans in place for next session. We're already working this summer to get something happening. So, yeah.
And the other thing that I really want to stress, and I stress this on almost every interview I do, we the people have the power. And the
That's right,
thing
we
is,
do.
you have to hold the fire under the feet of your local rep and your local senator.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not doing their job,
That's right.
somebody somewhere needs to run. And here's the thing, even if you have someone run and they're not going to win, at least they're going to bring up the issues and they will show that there are other constituents out there.
Right.
So it's not about, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have this, that, and the other. These are regular people. These are teachers. These are pastors. These are regular people. So don't let that false fear keep you from stepping up.
Yeah. Well, the thing, I don't know if you're seeing this, Saga, but there's a lot of disenfranchised voters. Again,
Yes.
I see the common ground of that. Yes, we're having major issues at the federal level, but I don't understand why people are disenfranchised at the state and local level, because here is the problem we have. It's not just local officials who are not voting our direction. It's a lot of citizens who are not activated. And it takes both to build the house. And we've got to get more people activated. And I know it's like scary to hear. Go talk to your legislator. When I first did it, I took 6 of my friends who all cared about health freedom, and we literally marched around Sarasota and Manatee County and went to every single meeting together because we felt safer. We had never done it before. And so we did it together. And then I was like, oh, why am I afraid? These are just normal human beings like you and I who need educated, because guess who else is marching around the offices? Lobbyists.
Right.
And so if we're not in those offices educating them, they're only hearing lobbyist talking points. So it absolutely takes us also getting into the offices. Yes, voting is important, but it has to be us being a part of it as well. We are part of the issue. And if we get united and we start voting the right direction, man, we will move mountains.
Yes, we will. And the other thing is you have to realize these people work for us and they depend on us, the constituents, because we are a vote. And you can pretty much be guaranteed if you call up for a meeting, they will give you at least 15 minutes. And people are like, oh my goodness, 15 minutes. When you go in, be prepared and have like a 1-page something to leave them with bullet points. Because again, these people, this is not their field of expertise.
Nope.
They don't know. So your job is to go in respectfully of their time.
That's right.
And educate them with bullet points. I went in to speak with my senator, and afterwards she's like, oh, can you send me more information on this? Can you send me more information on that? Which was great, because you don't want to just like vomit all over them, so to speak.
Exactly.
You want to leave them, it's almost leaving them with hooks. It's like, okay, I can, more of this, but this is my concern.
Yes.
And the more of you that go in, it's like instead of 6 together, have all 6 of you make a meeting and, okay, you're going to cover this section and you're going to cover that section. So
it's true.
That's what we need to do.
If you're scared, it's worth it to take a friend because that helps you get through it. But once you've done it once, you can go in and do it again. And Florida has something amazing that other states don't have, which is these delegation meetings where you can meet your whole entire delegation at one time and you get to then reiterate what you've already talked about and bring your friends there. So we have actually great opportunities to educate these policymakers. We just need citizens to get engaged.
Yes. And the delegate meetings, you have 3 minutes. So what I do is I type up and I literally stand there and read it because I know that the information is there and I know it's 3 minutes, and I make copies of it. And however many people are there, I hand them each a copy of it so that they have it.
That's right.
It's, you know, they may throw it away, but at least they have it and they'll see it.
No, it's great.
So what is the biggest threat to medical privacy that nobody's really talking about now?
Well, I think it's actually something everybody's talking about, but there's like almost a back door to it. So data centers are a huge issue, which I'm so happy to see Florida taking the reins of. But what people are really talking about is the water and the electric, which, to be honest, is huge. But as Saga and I know very well, it's actually more what we need to be talking about is surveillance. And I feel like that's the thing where if you talk to the younger generation, if I go to Gen Z and I say, tell me what you feel about privacy, they don't even actually understand what privacy means at this point. They live their life online. They don't care who knows what, but they don't understand what can actually backfire, what the issues are. And data centers are actually the launching point for a surveillance state. And so when I go in and I'm trying to beat back this data center issue, I'm going from the surveillance point of view because yes, water is an issue. Yes, electricity. Yes, health is an issue with the vibrations and sound. But the bigger picture here is surveillance. And we know exactly where they're headed, don't we, Saga? This is the issues we work on collaboratively, for sure.
Yes, we know exactly. And it's like, oh, we need to beat China. No, we don't. Because China actually has the most rapidly growing homeless population in the world right now, because they are 100% surveilled everywhere to the point where if you say something anywhere, in your home, anywhere, that is against the establishment, they will cut off your money. You will not be able to use public transportation. You will not be able to buy food. You will not be able to buy gas. And you will not be able to pay any of your bills. So all these young people are living in the streets. And if anybody goes to help them, if it was like my brother and I wanted to bring him a sandwich, the same thing would happen with me. And there's these young people dying. They're over there dying. So no, we don't need to compete with China here.
Right. And
Okay,
you know
so
what? We already have, I think, double the amount of data centers China does. Like the China talking point to me is like,
it's
it's
mute.
not existent. Like it
Mm-mm.
doesn't matter. And so it's really, we need to start talking about the bigger 32,000 foot level here, not just this
Right.
tiny little picture, which the tiny picture matters too, but the bigger picture is what we need to be really concerned with flock cameras. I mean, they're setting up the whole system, 5G towers, like it's all really there. The data centers just need to be put in place. The money needs to be changed over, and we're there. It's actually
Yeah.
not that far off.
Well, here's the scary thing, and this is I'm kind of jumping around here. Florida, the legislation that was passed last year, for instance, there was one
Yeah.
about a license tag. And you can't put any kind of cover on your license tag. It doesn't matter if it's clear, see-through, anything like that. And they wanted to put a front tag on the cars, and everybody was like, no, no front tag. And Bernie Jocks at least got to where you could have a rim around it, thanks to his mom pushing him to do that. So thank you, Bernie. But the thing is all of that is about the flock cameras. It is
That's
not
right.
about the police being able to see your license plate. It's just about the flock cameras. So
Mhm.
that was one thing that Florida passed last year. Florida also has mandatory real ID.
That's
People
right.
don't understand about that. Oh, for voting. No, it's not about
No,
that.
it's not. Mm-mm.
Voting is a state issue.
Yep.
What the Real ID does is it hooks all your information up to a federal database.
Correct.
Even in Minnesota, it's optional. So one of the things I want to fight next year is to unravel the Real ID, make it where it's optional, because you do not need Real ID to travel.
do
I
not.
travel all the time. I use a passport,
That's right.
passport card.
That's
So
right.
that's another thing. Another thing, and again, all these are bits and pieces that
They
are
are.
separate, but they're about to lock in,
Yep.
is they passed for Trump did the Genius Act, and now they're trying to do the Clarity Act, and with stable coins. And what that
Yeah.
is it's all about digital programmable money.
Mhm.
And I wanted to go in, and I spoke with my senator, I spoke with everybody about this. For the life of me, I could not get anyone to pick it up. And I was like, look, just put it on as an amendment. And all I wanted in there was, if you want to do all that, great, just put two little lines that we cannot be forced or coerced
Yep.
into using digital programmable money.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means we can't be forced or coerced, public or private.
Mhm.
Because the government, oh, well, that's
Right.
private,
Right.
that's
Right.
corporate communism.
Yeah, it is.
And then the other thing is cash. We've got to keep cash on hand. I mean, come on, we live in Florida. The
Mhm.
electricity goes out. Nobody's going to be able to use any kind of digital
Exactly.
anything.
Exactly.
My house flooded during the last hurricane. If I didn't have cash, I couldn't have gone down to Crowder Brothers and bought things I needed.
Right. Exactly.
So
Spot on.
Florida is actually very, very close. Another
They are.
bill that passed all through the House was HB 945, which was Geo Group gave a lot of money, and they own a lot of private prisons. And what that was, it's like, if you know what's happening over in England with the thought police and everything else, this would have made England look like kindergarten.
Mhm.
And it passed all through the House. It didn't get to the Senate because of time.
Yeah.
So I see, if we don't get the right person in that will veto this, that is not being
Correct.
paid by these groups,
Yes.
I see Florida being a total digital control grid in like 2 to 3 years.
I completely agree with you. And people look at me cross-eyed when I say that. But
Yeah.
we really don't have what people think we have, which is
No.
the land of the free. We're the freest people. Under DeSantis, he did a great job, and advocates have done a great job. But we are very close
We're very
to just
close
tipping
to
right
losing
back.
it.
Yeah. Mhm.
To absolutely losing it.
I agree.
Grr.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so who
scary.
shows up to fight with you? You got the fluoride out of systems. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that took more than just one session.
Yeah. Actually, here's what's cool about fluoride. So it started at a local level. So there's a suit. So Florida and other states, but Florida in general has like super advocates for people who really care about issues. And Justin Harvey is one of those super advocates who
He's
absolutely
awesome.
cares about all of these issues, has been fighting probably even longer than I have on issues I probably couldn't even talk about. And this was an issue he wanted to take on. And so he started fighting locally. We partnered up with him with a bunch of other groups. And honestly, once the fuel started, the fire just lit itself. And so we saw 30 counties ban fluoride once they understood, and it's an easy one to understand, is that fluoride is medical treatment that's forced on you. So it's not treating the water, it's treating the human. that's an issue. That's forced medication. So you didn't even have to get into the science. You didn't have to get into what actually is fluoride. Is it natural? Whatever. All you needed to say is, this is actually forced medication, and you could strip it immediately. Well, what was great is that the state saw what the locals were doing, and they wanted part of the action. And so they put a little line in the farm bill that would remove fluoride. And so it was actually the local, and this is the first time I've seen this in a long time, where the locals pushed the state to make a change. And that's why local control and local advocacy is one of the most important. And we're seeing it again with data centers. Like, all these locals got together, are working on their counties, and we're seeing, I think we're up to 10 counties, I think, at this point, who have banned these data centers. And reminder, a ban is just a temporary fix.
Right.
We still have to put rules and regulations in place, but I know people who are working on these tight rules and regulations, so even still it would be very difficult to put a data center into place. But it's local pushing the state, local pushing these candidates to have to talk about these things. So the more the people are involved and engaged, look at the changes we're making. So that was fluoride. We got it in the Farm Bill. I testified maybe 5 times, and it flew through and passed with flying colors. It was one of the most exciting bills to be a part of, to see the locals actually taking control and making things happen in the state.
Which is proof positive.
Yeah.
Citizens, normal citizens, just stand up, just be there, speak up. So speaking about the hypercenters, I actually wrote, we have the Citizens Guide to Fighting Data Centers. And in this, which I worked with you and a couple other very good experts on, it's not just about, the water. It's not just about that. It's so many health issues on here, from the sounds, from the pollution, the air pollution, from a myriad of things, from the EMF that's out there. The thing is, though, and I want people to think of something. Remember way back when a supercomputer would take up an entire room, right? And now on your phone, you have more electronics on your phone than the space shuttles that were going up. So all these hypercenters, there's already quantum computing coming down the pike. All these hypercenters are going to be obsolete in less than 10 years, probably closer to 5. Now, the thing is once they're built, it permanently destroys the land and the ecosystem.
That's right.
And Florida has so many very Florida-centric. We're the only place in the world that has the Everglades. We're the only place in the world that has a lot of different beautiful things that we have that are natural, that thankfully DeSantis has been working to preserve.
Right.
And and our aquifers are already drastically low. And people don't understand that it's not like, oh, well, we have to get this much rain. Okay, so the rain then, because we have a lot of limestone, so the rain then has to filter down through the sand, through the limestone, through everything. It takes decades to refill.
That's
okay.
right.
And then people are like, oh, well, what about desal? So I talked to Neil Cumby, and he said that, for instance, in Tampa built a desalinization plant, but they only use it when absolutely necessary. It was supposed to be running 24/7, so they're using the water also. So the data centers, the hyperscale data centers, and here's the other kind of kicker that's happening with them. They go in, they offer, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but my recollection is that in Fort Meade, the company was offering the city $10 million per year for 10 years.
Okay.
So what's going on is these data centers, it's the new hype, the new grift, if you will. So all these, the VC places, the venture capital, are trying to raise a lot of money on this. But yet, if you look at the books, there's no money. It's again, yet another scam. It's like, how many of these do we have to go through? And they're poisoning us.
Yeah.
They're poisoning us. They're killing the land. It's awful, awful, awful. And that money, it's just going to go away. It's not really there.
Yeah.
People are very short-sighted. And there's a part of me, I don't understand selling out your community, your state, your life for your children, your grandchildren, for money.
Yeah. I have three points for you on this. Number one, Stand for Health Freedom is doing a toolkit. So we'll have all sorts of information. We'll have testimony that you can pull from. We'll have emails you can write to your local officials. We're putting all of that together now. You'll find Saga's document on our resources part of it. We're trying to get citizens a little more educated. There's one other thing about Florida that's a little bit different than other states, is we do have a hard water. Like Florida's got salt water, hard water. So water is an issue, and it is an issue especially in the loop system, because where are they going to put, all those chemicals? But water isn't, I think, in my opinion, the biggest issue. I think,
Correct.
which is still a huge issue. I'm not negating it. What I'm saying is I think electric is more of the powerful issue.
Right.
Especially we have hurricanes, we've got natural disasters. So I think if Floridians can focus more on that, and then, how high our electric bills are already. But they'll have, if they use our water, it's already so hard. It's going to corrupt their stuff almost immediately, because we have such hard water in the state. And then the last point I wanted to make is I'm originally from the state of Iowa. And Iowa already has quite a few data centers in it. And I actually happen to know a woman who works at one. And so I got to sit and talk with her, and I'm like, tell me all about it. By the way, it's a Meta data center, and they have 10 employees. Only 10. And this thing's gigantic. 10. They walk around, or they ride, I don't know if they ride a golf cart, but I don't exactly understand what she is there for. But after I kind of talked to her, I was like, well, a robot's going to take this over pretty quickly. Like, these things don't come with jobs. So they're promising hundreds of jobs. Well, sure, hundreds of jobs to build it. But
Right,
when
then
they're
they're done.
gone, there's no jobs to be had. So there's
Right.
really not a win for the humans. There is no win when it comes to our civilization. And and like you said, they're going to be obsolete within
Yeah.
such a short time span. So yeah, it's definitely
It's
good
already
reason to push back.
happening. And over
Yeah.
in Europe, I believe they're using more an open source kind of AI stuff, open source stuff, because they're not doing these.
Okay. Interesting.
So
And
I know. Okay, so who is a surprising ally?
Man, well, okay. So this is a great question, because we had kind of a big issue come up this year, and it actually in the end was really fun. So I don't know if you remember that the Farm Bill this year. So Farm Bill last year was great. Farm Bill this year, we saw what we labeled the ag gag kind of section in the bill. Basically what the whoever put it in there, I would consider it a lobbyist, put this language in there to say you can no longer speak ill. So right now we have, you can no longer speak ill of perishable foods. I think I can understand that. We're a perishable food state. They don't want you to speak ill because, if an orange rots, yes, you can get ill, but we can't really control that. Well, they were going to take and strip the word perishable. So now you can no longer speak ill of our food industry, which means how we produce it, how we raise it, all the things, which really to me was a backdoor way to get this pesticide immunity shield sort of passed in the state, because they filed it now 3 years in a row. It is barely moved. And so this was sort of a back deal way. The great news is it was a independent Democrat journalist who reached out to me and said, did you see this is in there? And I was like, I didn't, but thank you. He and I worked along with other organizations across the state of all parties, of all types. We all came together. We basically built this coalition. We were literally of all types of people, all types of organizations who fought it back. And I can't tell you how many people came to me while I was in Tallahassee who work in Tallahassee day in and day out. And they're like, I don't know why you're taking this issue on. You're not going to win. And I heard that over and over and over. And guess what? We won. And
Good.
we saw so many advocates rise up and take action and come up and say, no, not in our state. And especially because there's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of fishermen in our state, and we don't need more chemicals ruining our waters. We don't need more chemicals ruining our land. We need to be able to speak out against these things. So I'm going to tell you that on that issue, I went to the Dems, and they were with us 100%. They supported us. They did not care that we don't meet each other on other issues. And in fact, I built so many bridges. I was floored by what happened this legislative session. I have never gone into a Democrat office, maybe one or two every now and then, that welcomed us in and wanted to work with us. So I can tell you that the health freedom issue is blossoming so much that there isn't party lines anymore, that it is everyone who cares. And so the more we build bridges with every side, the better off we are, that they're going to start caring. They're going to start listening. When we come in respectfully, we're building those bridges. That's what matters. And so I can tell you that on our voter guide that's going to be get pushed out with this interview is that we have endorsed some Democrats who 100% stand with us on that issue. And guess what? They stand with us on the vaccine issue. We're building bridges. Fringe is gone. We're the new majority, and we just have to start really speaking out more about it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's interesting because when I was trying to get the like the guardrails in for the programmable money, and then
Yes.
the other thing I was trying to do, because I mentor kids at high schools, and those kids, and they're the lower income kids,
Yep. Okay.
and they can't buy a ticket to a prom, a concert, a football game and use cash. It's credit only.
Really?
Digital only. Yes, and
I
that
didn't know
started in
that.
COVID. And again, it's the control, control, control grid. And
Okay.
so I wanted to put in there about, cash must be accepted. And this is, nobody would
Great.
do this, except there was the Democrats. The Democrats understand.
There we
And
go.
all I want to put in there is all government, public sector entities must accept cash.
It's great.
That's it.
It's so
Government, public
easy.
sector. It's
Yeah.
so easy. And the Democrats are the ones that are like, yeah, we can, because they understand, because 4% of our population is unbanked.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
it's
4%.
4%.
That's pretty big for Florida.
Well, not only that, it's the elderly,
Okay.
it's the disabled.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have a sister-in-law who is disabled, and there's no way you could give her a credit card. Somebody would be scamming her left and right. It's like, okay, here's, this much to go do whatever with. And so yeah, and again, the money issue, it's not red, it's not blue, it's green. And
It
the same
is.
thing with health.
I like that.
Everybody wants health. They want healthy kids. They want healthy food. This is not a political issue. This is a
not.
human issue.
It is. That's
So
right.
God bless you for that.
Well,
So,
I
okay.
mean, yes, it's been fun, actually. It's
Yeah.
been really fun to be in these offices and to get to talk to them and work with them. So it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Okay. So you mentioned the voter guide. So let's get into
Mhm.
the voter guide.
Great.
So what does it cover as far as, you mentioned the vaccines, you mentioned different issues. How
Yep.
do you have it?
Mhm.
What issues do you have on there? And is it like a ranking system, or
Yep.
what do you have there?
I love to talk about this because I've been devoting my life to it for the past 2 months. And so this is our third year posting voter guides. We've had great success across the state, getting good candidates in local and state. We've even got a few in in Congress. We've got great candidates this year. I'm very, very excited about all of these candidates who are completely aligning with us. So when we vet them, here is our process. The way to vet a seat is that when one candidate takes our survey, it's a 10-question survey. It's very short. It's just meant to give us a little insight. When you start to make these surveys a lot longer, these candidates and incumbents will not fill them out. So we're talking about vaccine issue. We're talking about parental rights, religious freedom. We do talk about the pesticide immunity issue because we think that's really huge and has been one of the biggest things to come up. We do talk about fluoride. The state of Florida doesn't necessarily need to talk about it, but it is a good issue to talk about when it comes to forced medication. And so those are and we do actually talk about farming practices. We are all about food freedom.
Good.
We need to have access to food, and we need to be able to buy from our local farmers. This is another part of this surveillance state where they're seeing them clamp down on local farmers being able to sell to their neighbors.
So I want to ask you about that. I want to go
Yeah.
there for a second, because I know that in different states,
Yep.
and I don't know how it is here in Florida. Well, I do it a little bit, but like, for instance, I buy from a farmer, but it's kind of like, okay, well, you have to go because they're not allowed to butcher. They're not allowed to process.
That's right.
And it's also with the chickens, they're not allowed to process. So you have to go here, and it's more and more and more regulations, which is absolutely insane. So can you educate us a little bit more on where we are with that and what we need to do?
So you're exactly right. It's really the processing plants where they have a stronghold, and that's where they can up the money and they can say no, and you're not producing the right things. I mean, that's where they can put massive restrictions in. The great news is that the Farm Bill at the federal level this year saw an amendment from Representative Thomas Massey. It's called the Prime Act, and so it does open the doors a little bit more on this, so that hopefully we will see these either more processing plants, or you will see local farmers who can process on their own. It's the it's the USDA restrictions that are so tight that these farmers cannot do what they want to do, and is process and sell. The state of Louisiana and the state of Indiana saw massive food freedom bills pass this legislative session. The goal is for Florida to file something like that. It's Louisiana, they opened the door so that farmers can sell. They were restricted to only $100,000 worth of product they could sell. And so they opened the restriction on that. Indiana saw a really huge bill pass, opened the doors on a lot of these things. So Florida, we're going to try to file the same thing. I mean, if we're the free state of Florida, I should be able to go to my local farmer and say, I want these cuts, give them to me, you process, you sell, and it should be that should be it. It should be no restrictions, essentially. Yes, we want it to be a safe practice, but I mean, they're so... whoever they are up there in the world, they're so concerned with that. Americans can't make decisions for themselves. Yes, we can.
Yes, we
I can go to a farmer. If I get bad meat, guess what? I'm not going back to that farmer.
Right.
It's not really that
free
difficult.
Market.
That's
free
right.
market takes care of everything.
That's
and then
right.
also in the state of Florida, because I know that Florida has more cattle than any other state other than Texas. And I also know that Florida, there was a time when Florida farmers produced 80% of all produce sold in the U.S.
Yeah.
And now, because of what's happening in Mexico and other places, I think it's down to 20%.
I think you're right.
Which is absolutely insane. So, who are the friendly legislators that we need to be knocking on their doors to get this done? Because the other thing is, and I don't think people understand this either, the 10th Amendment.
Yes.
Our 10th Amendment rights give the states so much power as long as you don't cross state lines. So if it's within the state. And right now, people sell their cows to, be finished in, pick your state, Georgia, Alabama, wherever, and then they go process them, this, that, and the other. So the farmer here really doesn't make the money. They have the least amount. So within the state of Florida, if we could, is there a way with this to exercise our 10th Amendment rights so that it can be, like you say, the different farms that I go to, they can process there, they can sell there, because we're not only talking chicken and beef and pork, but also milk.
Yes, that's right.
Eggs,
that's right.
Just, different things like that to where we're not going to, and if we did bring that down and we could do more within the state, the farmers would make more and you would be paying less for your product.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that. So working on the voter guide, Stand for Health Freedom has endorsed Paul Renner for governor, and he is all in on this issue. Like, this is one of the health freedom pillars that he's in on. He wants food forests. He wants kids eating healthy school lunches, getting their local food from their local sources. Like, this is what he wants. So in my opinion, we need to get Renner into office so that when we pass these bills, it's an easy signature. But yeah, I mean, right now, you can buy raw milk in the state of Florida, but it has to be labeled for pet consumption only.
Right.
We need to remove that. There needs to be less restrictions. I mean, we all know raw milk is like one of the least dangerous things that you can intake in your body, even though they make big splashes about it every now and then. But yeah, there's some great people. I will tell you, I have to bring it up because I don't want to butcher someone's name. In the Florida House in District 10, we have Marshall Rawson running. He is all in on all of these issues, and he's a farmer. And so he is massive on all of this. He's going to be a key official. Yes. And I mean, here's the realistic part of politics is that you can say a lot of things and have nothing to back it up. The thing with Paul Renner is he says a lot of things and he has these votes in the last decade that back up what he says. And so James Fishback is a candidate out there who says really great health freedom issues, but I absolutely have no way to trust what he says to be truth. And I'm not putting him down. I don't ever put any local official or any official who's running for office down. I just have to have a way to vet what you say is true. And so, that's the thing with Paul. He has a track record. He came out in November of last year with his Health Freedom Initiative, and he's got a track record to prove it. I mean, look at 2023 when he was in office, all of the COVID stuff passed, and he was all in on all of that. So a lot of what we do is, so we're obviously vetting incumbents and we're vetting challengers. The goal is that those who are in office currently, because they have name recognition, they're probably going to get right back into office. So the goal is educating them right now. Okay, if you're going to stay into office, here's what you need to know about these issues. And then on the other side is these challengers, is really educating them. Okay, if we're going to help you come in, you've got to follow these tenets of health freedom. And to be honest, this has been our most successful year ever of just getting with candidates and them saying, oh, I read your website and I'm with you on absolutely everything, which is great. And just so you know, I just talked to a congressional candidate yesterday, Tim Watkins, and he was all in on the Real ID issue. He's like, you're right, Bailey.
Good.
This is a surveillance issue.
Yes.
And so it's really exciting to see these guys. actually opening their eyes to the bigger picture and the work that we need to do in the state. So it's really exciting. You can find it at Stanford. Actually, if you go to votehf.com, it's a way smaller web address, votehf.com. All you do is click on Florida and the voter guide is there. I'm not completely done endorsing and recommending. There's still many legislators to vet. I'm kind of I feel like at this halfway point. I will tell you, I typically have a lot more local seats. And so I'm looking for advocates to go out and say, hey, go to your local town halls and ask them to fill out our survey, because what data centers, what fluoride is showing, that local control really does matter. And so I would love to get more local seats on the voter guide. So we'll be endorsing up until the day of elections. And so I would love for people's help. So you can find the candidate survey there. We just sent out an email today letting you know the voter guide is live. There is the candidate survey there. It's all there for you to help us get a really great guide together so we can make the leaps forward we need in the state, because we need better legislators. We're not going to make it with what we have now, unfortunately.
Right. And we'll put those links down below.
Great.
In our things also.
Perfect.
Okay, so are there any Florida names that scored unexpectedly high or low? Any surprises?
Unexpectedly. Okay. Well, I will tell you, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with who Dana Trabulsi is. So I have not worked with her on the health freedom front, and also Linda Cheney. These are two candidates, are two incumbents that I've not ever worked with, and they voted correctly on absolutely every issue we follow. And that's a lot of issues, and they voted the right direction. So you better believe that they're going to be hearing from me over this summer to be like, I need to know who you are. You're doing the good work. Let's partner on some great legislation. But we have our typical Clay Yarborough. He is probably top notch for health freedom. He will fight. And what else Clay is really good at is the common ground stuff. He's like, all right, I know I'm not going to get everything I absolutely want, but I'm going to figure out and strategically work through committees or whatnot to get ourselves to the best point at the end. And so he's probably number one. Monique Miller in the House is a huge one for us. She is a top-notch health freedom ally, and she is also she's strategic. I mean, here's the thing. You know, people have asked me, why don't you run for office, Bailey? And I'm like, I can't play the political games. I'm too principled. I couldn't play games. I couldn't remove things from the bill that I want to get it pushed forward, even though that's what happens and it usually works a lot. I couldn't do it. I'd be like, no, I can't do that. So I'm better on the outside, but we really do need these officials who are good at playing politics. And honestly, a lot of them are. They know how to get a bill through a tough committee and then put it back to where it needs to be to get through the next. So sometimes, you're going to see the games played, but if you could get good people in office who know how to play them, it's worthwhile. So I know people don't want to hear that, but it's just the truth.
But it's true. It is true. It's like people ask me the same thing. And I did run for mayor several years ago, and I had a great time, and it opened up a lot of doors. And I have a big mouth, and I don't hold back. I know. Go figure. You're. I know. It's like so unlike me. But all the issues that I brought up had to be addressed. And things that did happen because of me is there's no longer BLM in Polk County.
That's great.
And and I educated the people. I know. I educated the people the difference between a Marxist agenda and a constitutional agenda. I opened up that flood door. The biggest thing that I'm rather proud of, I split the good old boy pack.
Oh, there we go. We definitely needed that.
I know. But in any event, so, and I'm a normal person. I'm not any kind of big whoopity-whoop special anything. I have... my heart bleeds red, white, and blue. I love this country. I love this state. We're at a time now when it is so vitally important for people to step up. I don't think people realize how close we are to losing our freedoms.
That's right. And it's step up, or at least inform yourself. Don't just, and what I tell people is, either they don't see their county on the voter guide, or, they don't like what's happened on the voter guide. It's like, I'm giving you a guide. I'm not telling you how to vote. Right. I would love for each advocate to take that guide and be like, okay, do I agree with this? Is this what I want? Let me go research who else is in that seat, because maybe it's not what I want. So I'm telling you who is standing for health freedom, and I want voters to go inform themselves to make sure that they feel the same way. It's so important. I wish that I could break through the noise of all of this like hesitate to vote type stuff. It's so important that we still stay engaged and at the very least go to the polls. It's not
Yes.
that difficult to inform yourself, to talk to your neighbors. Hey, did you see this? Did you hear something new that I don't know about this person? And there's a bunch of organizations that put out voter guides to give you a good idea of who stands for what. And I can tell you that we talk to those organizations. There are times where we may endorse or support someone that they don't, but most of the time we align. And most of the time, if we're picking somebody on two different sides, most of the time both guys are good and either can get into office or great. But it's us who has to get to the polls to vote. That's what's important.
Right. And I also think that a lot of people, I think the voter guides are very, very valuable as opposed to somebody who's like, well, I'm endorsed by so-and-so. Well,
Mhm.
something that people don't realize is sometimes people endorse you because you wrote them a big check
That's true.
or
That's
you
very
promised
true.
them something on the
That's
other
right.
side. It's
That's
not
right.
because it's the best person for the job. It's because like, okay, so I'm going to give you a couple 100,000 and you're going to endorse me. Right. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Oh, I'm
That's
running on. Hey, I'm endorsed by.
It's so very true. Yeah.
Yeah, sad but true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, with all that we've spoken about, which has been so broad, and the one thing, back to one of the health freedom issues, is I want to talk about, I'm just going to kind of make a circle here, on the Health Freedom Act that did not get passed
Yep.
this year.
Yes.
And people were referring to it, oh, it's anti-vax. It was not anti-vax. It was pro-informed consent.
That's right.
And I don't think people realize, it's like if you go buy a donut, they have to tell you everything that's in the donut.
That's right.
But if they want to inject something into your body, and then a lot of people are like, yeah, but everybody has to get, vaccine or whatever, because I worked at a medical clinic up in Minnesota and it was personalized medicine. It was very, very specialized. There are people out there who will go into anaphylactic shock and
Right.
die
Yeah.
because of some of the ingredients that are in these vaccines. So if you are on a high and mighty horse and say, no, I want everybody at my kid's school vaccinated. Well, if your kid was one of those that was going to die if they got the shot, are you willing to sacrifice your child? And conversely, if your child is vaccinated, what do you have to worry about?
Yeah.
So if you could go into a little bit more
Yes.
about informed consent.
I would love to talk about this. I want to start with this no mandates, because that's really the ideal of the bill. Yes, informed consent. We want you to have all the information, but with mandates, that puts a third person in the exam room with the doctor and the patient, because now there's money, now there's coercion. And so even the mandate itself has to be repealed in order to have full informed consent. And I want to tell you, I think we added up to like 55 countries around the globe that do not mandate, absolutely no mandates. And so when people
And
are
they're
like,
very healthy.
they're very healthy. And they still have, if you care about high percentage rates of being vaccinated, they still have vaccination rates that they're proud of. So it's not about, that type of issue. The issue is that we should not be mandating across the board. And so that's the goal of the bills. So informed consent is the catalyst, but the way to get there is you've got to remove the mandate. And a lot of people don't understand. It's actually not the CDC that mandates these vaccines. They put out their recommendations. They do that. It's the states who mandate. So in most cases, it's a state legislature. In some cases, in some states, it's your health department. And you can go to Stand for Health Freedom and click on your state, and we'll give you all that information on to tell you which way to go. But for the most part, it's your state legislature. So the more we inform them on these issues, on this topic, the more informed consent is an easier thing for them to digest. And we've even stopped using the phrase informed consent, because even that, they seem a little ill-informed on. So it's informed decision, they're making a decision where they have all the information. But mandates are the roadblock. If something is mandated, then you no longer get informed consent, because you have to have it supposedly. Yes, we have exemptions in the state, but as we've seen in other states, and we saw in 2019 in the state of Florida, where Senator Book tried to file a bill to remove the religious exemption, these things are easy to kind of come and go. So if we remove a mandate, then you already have full informed consent, because you can't have coercion. You can't have all these things where parents don't realize that there's exemptions in the state. So informed consent is the end goal, but the path forward is removing the mandates. And I think we honestly can get there the more we educate them on the why. It's not about telling you can't vaccinate. It's about
Right.
saying it shouldn't be mandated. That's forced medication.
Right.
And
You
like
have
you
the
said,
choice.
Saga, like the people have reactions to all of the ingredients. And if you look at the
Yes.
ingredient list, it's quite appalling inside of vaccines. So that's sort of the first place when someone does come to me and say, how come you don't vaccinate your children? And why, what was the first step you took? I looked at the ingredients list and
Mhm.
I refuse to put those things inside my child's bloodstream.
Well,
And
if they tell
it's
you
very
if you're
easy.
pregnant, don't eat tuna or don't eat this, that, and the other because of
Yes.
the mercury levels,
Mercury.
but
Hmm.
yet these vaccines have like 1,000 times more mercury in them for a little tiny baby. They want to put in a
Right.
little tiny baby whose system is
Yes.
fresh,
Correct.
and it's like I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, I do because it's about money. It's like
It is
the
about
Hep
money.
B. I mean,
Hmm.
you want to give a child that was just born a shot for a sexually transmitted disease?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
That would, in my opinion, the easiest one to rescind, and we couldn't even rescind that at the federal level. It's just crazy. So it's going to take more information. It's got to get more people informed on what it is. But the mandate is the biggest problem, the biggest hurdle to get people informed. So that's what we're chasing after. I'm talking to legislators this summer about trying to file. I feel like we finally might have some leadership who's willing to listen on this issue. So we're
Good.
chasing it this year.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
any way we can help, we'll be right there
Of
with you.
course. I feel the
Okay,
same
so
way
with
with what
all
you work on.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, and again, and it's almost like whack-a-mole. It's like,
I know. It really
and
is, actually.
yeah, because, and people don't understand. It's like, oh, well, I don't mind, having a credit card or doing this and that. It's like individually, all the different things are
Right.
okay when they're kept separate.
That's right.
But once you lock them together, you
Yeah, the
have no
system is
freedom.
there. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and to the point where it's kind of like, okay, so, well, Bailey, you've had enough meat this month,
Right.
so your money, you can only buy bugs now.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know that sounds very dystopian to people, but I think that you don't understand. That is the path forward if we don't beat this stuff back. In the end, that is the path forward. Sounds a little like futuristic now, but that's I mean, you read
Well,
the
that's what's going
2030
on in other
plan.
countries.
Yeah, and the 2030 agenda has that as their goals. That's what
Yeah,
we're a part of. So it's
yeah.
not that futuristic. It's right at our front door.
Yes. So
Yeah.
God bless you for all you're doing. That's one of the many
Thank
reasons
you.
I love you. Okay, so having said all that, what keeps you genuinely optimistic?
I love that question. That's probably my favorite question you're asking me. And it is working with people every day. I know that you can easily in this environment get blackpilled, right? That's where that all of a sudden you're taking all this information, you're losing here, this isn't working, we're not getting as far as we wanted, and which means you can get really down in the dumps. But when you keep your thought process up here and you look at where we are compared to just 6 years ago, we are in a completely different place. So sometimes when I'm like getting frustrated, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, by the way, the White House talked about vaccines last week. So reel it back in. And by the way, my mom doesn't look at me cross-eyed anymore when I say I'm not vaccinating my child. Like we are making leaps forward. You have to focus on the wins. You can't get lost in the losses because we are going to have them. And I will tell you from a spiritual perspective, this is a bigger battle than the flesh and blood. There is more out there. And I know some people don't want to talk about that, but it is the truth. And so you have to keep more of a perspective of the bigger win that's happening. The more we're educating, and there is enough for us to hang our hat on to say that we are winning, then there's not. And again, I could simply tell you that 8 years ago, I took my son to an event where we were talking about vaccines, and I had people ridicule me right in front of my 4-year-old child. And I was brokenhearted. But today, I can go to that same event where people come and like, how can I help you? What can we do? How can I support you? So the thing is when you engage with your neighbor, that's where the excitement comes from because they're more willing to listen. And the last nugget I'll give you is common ground is your best friend. I have gotten into so many doors and in with a neighbor who's a doctor, by the way. He's this massive doctor with a massive clinic he owns. And we're at a fire pit one night and he's like, all right, tell me what your problem is with vaccines. Like, just give it to me. And I'm like, all right. So the first thing I always do is find the common ground. Where can he and I meet and then build on that. And I can tell you successfully that he did take the COVID vaccine, but he did not take the boosters. So I'm like, all right, we've already found a place where we've won. And so common ground is your best friend. Even with people who believe on the complete opposite side of you, find something else where you can meet and build trust, and then you can build from there. Screaming at people, being a used car salesman for what you believe in doesn't work, but building bridges, finding common ground does. And so we've met with some legislators who usually absolutely hate us this past year, and we built bridges and we worked with them this year. And I have never been more excited about the path forward. It's great.
Yeah, I think that, and again, I believe everybody wants to be healthy. I believe everybody wants pardon the term, wants the same end game. They have different paths to get there.
Yes.
And it's like I say to someone, okay, if I love sushi and you hate sushi, let's just not go to a sushi restaurant.
Exactly. That's a great
The other
way,
way, having been from Minnesota, I'm telling you right now, game day between the Vikings and the Packers.
Right. Yes.
And then after that, it's like, hey, let's go have a beer. We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and so I honestly believe that I think we've been too polarized.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, they're a Dem. Oh my goodness, they're a, MAGA.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And we need to, that to me was planned to divide and separate.
Yeah.
And you're spot on with, it is a spiritual warfare.
It is.
And I highly advocate, we need to pray more. We need to pray more over our country. We need to pray more over our leaders. Whether you like them or not, pray over the position. We need to give God the glory and enable, because God is a gentleman. He's not going to do something he's not asked to do, because that would negate free will.
Right.
So I put God in highest authority over our state, over our country, our city, over our home. And I think that is what is so vitally important. And when someone says, oh, all I can do is just pray. Well, that's great, because your words have power.
That's right.
And when you're praying that into the spiritual realm, you are enabling the warriors and the angels. And I pray all the time for that spirit of boldness to come up in people, because I can guarantee you, and I can prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, that when you were born, God put in you a spirit of determination to not quit until you get what you want.
Yeah.
And you know how I can prove that? You're walking.
Right.
Right? How many times did you fall? How many times were you wiggly? How many times? But you saw everybody walking, and you didn't quit. And it took you what? A year and a half to learn how to walk. So don't let that spirit of fear come in. Don't let that spirit of the one that like, no, you can't do that. No, you're not good enough. No, that's not from God.
Yeah.
That is not from God.
If you believe in the God of the Bible, well, we've already won. And so I always come from the perspective of, I'm holding back the tide of the bad. But in the end, I've already won. So really, why would I ever be downtrodden? Like, I'm on the side of the victor. So I best be like getting out there, getting active, being positive, because that's what people need. And I will say the weird thing about this whole World Cup situation, which I'm not a big sports person, but to see countries come together, people come together, like that's what we have to remember is humanity actually still exists. Even though the media doesn't want us to know that, you can still love your neighbor even if they don't like your issue. Right. So I feel like we just have to kind of get back to the roots of like going into the fence and talking to your neighbor and not being afraid. They don't have to agree with you on every issue, but I agree with you on everything you said. It's so good.
Oh, yes. Well, Bailey, thank you so very, very much. And all the names that you mentioned, the voter guide, the different links you'll send them to us, and we'll put down in the our description section.
Happily.
And again, thank you so very, very much. And anything we can do to help, we will.
And I feel the same way about you, Saga. We'll support each other all throughout this.
All right. Okay. Thank you all.
You
Bye-bye.
got it.